Well, hello everyone. Let's get into our chapter 4 video lecture. We're going to focus on demanding ethical and socially responsible behavior. Ooh. So, we're going to take a look at some few topics. Ethics is more than legality. Ethics again with each of us. Managing businesses ethically and responsibly. Setting corporate ethical standards, corporate social responsibility, international ethics, and social responsibility. So, this chapter is all about ethics. Okay? So, ethics is more than just acting in a legal manner. So, there have been plenty of scandals that have shaken the real estate industry, the mortgage industry, and banking industries. So, the question is, how do we restore trust in a free market system? So, how do we trust those corporations that we are doing business with? So, some ideas are to punish those who broken the law, make accounting records more transparent, consider what is ethical, not just what is legal. So, meaning that as a corporation, you have a responsibility to act in an ethical manner as a corporation, and we'll discuss that in more detail. Wells Fargo, a well known financial institution, in 2016, they were fined 185 million for creating more than 1.5 million fake accounts and 500,000 fraudulent credit cards in customers' names without their knowledge. So this widespread scandal by Wells Fargo, uh, it ended up in $1 billion in lawsuit settlements because of fraudulent activities by Wells Fargo. So the question is, was Wells Fargo acting in an ethical manner? And Wells Fargo is not alone. Other examples of corporate scandal, one of the most famous ones included the Enron Corporation, when their former CEO, Ken Lay, their CFO, and CEO were found guilty of committing accounting fraud by moving billions of dollars of debt on their balance sheet, which artificially inflated the company's stock and bond prices. So they pretty much had took debt off of their balance sheet to make them appear to have a higher net worth. Now, pay attention to this. The executives sold millions of dollars worth of stock just before the fraud became public, while the company's pensions, meaning that the regular employees, prohibited them from selling their stock, and they lost billions of dollars. So small investors and employees lost, look at that, a total of $74 billion. WorldCom is another company involved in corporate scandals, and you can read about other corporate scandals in your textbook. Okay? So we won't go through all of these, but Tyco had a corporate scandal. Freddie Mac, the loan people, Lehman Brothers, and of course Bernie Madoff Investment Securities, one of the more well-known securities fraud. Bernie Madoff tricked investors out of, look at this number, $64.8 billion in the largest ever Ponzi scheme. Madoff paid investors a return out of their own money or from other investors' profits. So what it made it seem is that he would say that you had a 20% return on your investment, and he would give you that 20% return, but that 20% return was either out of your initial investment or it was money that someone else invested into the company. He was sentenced to 150 years in prison plus or to pay back $170 billion in restitution. So the question is, how did those companies act in an ethical manner? Hmm. Let's talk more about ethical standards or fundamental. So, ethics standards of moral behavior. That is behavior accepted by society as being right versus wrong. So again, remember that just because something is not illegal, it doesn't mean that you're acting in an ethical manner. Okay? There are some common standards we talk about of ethical behavior that comes from your religious belief and what we call the golden rule. Unethical behavior. So think about situations in which someone may act in an unethical manner. Let's say someone who works in your office, they are violating the safety standards of the company, or they're just goofing off. Is that acting in an ethical manner? Personal. Most people do not volunteer. When you do not volunteer to help others, are you acting in an ethical manner? At school, plagiarize from the internet. So if you plagiarize your assignments, are you acting in an ethical manner? So there's a strong relationship between academic dishonesty and dishonesty at work. So our goal is to give you the basics about ethics while you're in school with the intent that you will act in an ethical manner, not just on your college career, but also once you enter to the actual workplace. Okay? So we all come across ethical dilemmas. Sometimes we must choose between two unsatisfactory alternatives. So you're saying that I don't like either of these choices. But ask yourself these questions. Is my proposed action legal? Is it balanced? And how will it make me feel about myself? So use these questions to help you make decisions when it comes to ethics. Okay? Just some other companies that were involved in ethical situation. Walmart was found guilty of violating their books and records and failing to operate a sufficient anti-corruption compliance program. Cognizant had a bribery scheme in India, Deutsche Bank, improper accounting controls, and bookkeeping. So we can see that it is important that these corporations act in an ethical manner because when they do not, it doesn't just hurt the corporation, it can hurt their employees, their investors, their suppliers, creditors, etc. Okay? So ethics starts at the top of the organization. So think about your place of employment. Managers can help instill corporate values to the employees. So the managers of these corporations need to act in an ethical manner in order to instill those values of their employees, right? Because as a worker, if you're saying, hey, you're not acting in an ethical manner, so why should I? So I'm a firm believer that ethics starts at the top. Okay? So trust between workers and managers must be based on fairness, honest, openness, and moral integrity. Overly ambitious goals and incentives can create an environment in which unethical actions can occur. So, as an example, sometimes the salaries of top executives are based upon the results, meaning if our sales reach a certain goal, I'm going to receive a bonus. Some would say that that goal to be ambitious to reach that goal to get your bonus may cause someone to act in an unethical manner. So, what are the factors that influence your ethics? So, as an individual, your personal values will influence your ethics, your work background, your family status, what you taught at home, your personality. These are the factors that will impact your ethical behavior. As an organization, we just talked about that top level management philosophy. How does the company view the importance of ethics? The firm's reward system. So again, when I just mentioned that if rewards are based upon outcomes, sometime that will lead to a person acting in an unethical manner. Job dimensions, meaning what are the duties of my job, how much freedom do I have, is there accountability? From an environmental standpoint, competition can impact your ethical behavior. Economic conditions can have an impact. So can social and cultural institutions can all have an influence on someone's ethical behavior. Written codes of ethics. These are codes put in place typically by a corporation. When you have what's called compliance based ethics codes, they pretty much emphasize preventing unlawful behavior by increasing control and by penalizing wrongdoers. So now we're saying that we understand that if we commit these offenses, there could be a penalty involved. Integrity based ethics codes are when defined by the organization's guiding values, create an environment that supports ethically sound behavior and stress a shared accountability among employees. So now we're saying the environment set by the culture, by your employer, can have an impact, and we call that integrity based ethics code. Okay? So here we just have the code of ethics by the Hershey's company, Hershey Kisses. They discuss their commitment to their consumers, commitment to the marketplace, commitment to the stockholders, and to the global community. So this is the code of ethics put in place by the Hershey Corporation. We'll now look at strategies for ethics management. How do we manage ethics? Okay. So remember we have two different type of systems, a compliance-based ethics code and integrity-based ethics code. Within compliance-based ethical code, ideal, conform to outside that mean laws and regulations. So that means that all of our employees are making sure that they are abiding by the laws and regulations of that corporation and also within society. Try to avoid criminal misconduct. If needed, we're going to have lawyers to have as to serve as leaders to make sure we're acting in an ethical manner. Methods of these strategies could include education, educating people on how to be ethical, reduce employee discretion, controls, and penalties. From an integrity based ethics code, we'll conform to outside standards and choose internal standards. We know about laws and regulations, but let's make sure we have our own policies, enable responsible employee conduct, managing with the aid of lawyers and others, and again, you have the education, leadership, accountability. So these are strategies for ethics management. Okay. Next, we're going to come back and talk about how to set corporate ethical standards. It is a 6-step process. Stay tuned for part 2 on our discussion on ethical manner. Bye bye.